afternoon. This is Chris Brecher with the Simpler Stocks free video for January 25th, 2016. It's about an hour before the bell on Friday. Basically, today was all about a continuation of the follow-through from this reversal candle that we've had now for on Wednesday. And as you can see in a 78-minute chart, you have that big reversal, and we've just kept going. Now, today I call it the snow trade because basically what you've had is, because the Northeast is basically locked down after noon today in anticipation of gigantic snowstorm, whatever you started as, the market was just sort of going to sit there the rest of the day. Now, these were the things I had seen earlier in the day, is opposite of all week, all month, we had the difference at the Nikkei after going right where I said it was on the Simpler Stocks premium side, right to 16,000, now going to test this underside of the of support, which is now resistance around 1,720. 17,200. That pulled up then the oil prices sort of firmed in addition to the Nikkei, which helped the SPX today and it becomes a domino effect. So let me show you what I mean in here. You have the ES is doing this, and basically with crude oil going up, it then pulls up the banks because people have been selling the banks because they're worried about high yield debt that a lot of big banks have issued, that all of a sudden banks would be in trouble. So you had Nikkei rallying, oil rallying, which helps the high yield bonds rally, which helps the banks rally, which helps the SPX rally. So as you see on here, Goldman Sachs, which yesterday had a terrible end to the day, closed exactly on its low and on a 3-year low. Then today just exploded out of the gate up 4 points, mainly due to good oil prices bouncing. So that was one of the things I watched. The other thing I watched in here is not only do we see this, that we see the bounce, right here in the SPX, but also what you're seeing is on the 78-minute chart. I saw this yesterday, which I actually mentioned on the premium site, was that doing charts is an art, not a science. You might try to draw it here, but when you really draw it, it's right there. And when you zoom in on this, you see this little flag right here. And what you got then was this inverse head and shoulders, and all we're doing now is going up by this amount, which is actually about 60 points. So 60 points from the breakout. Let me show you this so you can see it exactly. Right, let's say 1812, let's say 1815 to round it off, to right here, 1875. Let's say that's 60 points from the breakout. That gets you to 1930. So we're almost there. We're only 30 points away from that, though. But that is how I was looking at it. I wasn't long anything overnight. And this is why, though, that we said if the transports bounce back, which they did, and the Nikkei bounces back, and the Russell bounces back, those were the ones that were already at support. So you want to look at stocks within that group to buy. On the premium side, we've been showing some of those that have really worked great. Here's one of them, SAFE, Spirit Airlines, that right here, we saw this in, let me show you on a daily, that we saw this little cup and handle forming on the left. And then once the market stabilized, this stock just took off, no pun intended. And as you can see, it's literally rallied 6 points in the last week. That's been a real good one. We've identified some other ones that have actually been just excellent opportunities on the long side. The theory was because the Russell had made its first expectation even on a weekly chart. What I mean by this, it went down to support at the October 2013 levels and now was at support, that the stocks within the Russell 2000 that had already shown forms of bottoming were the ones you had to grab that were going to lead this oversold bounce. So what we did in here, I'll actually show you how we do the scan. And this is how we do it. We go scan, and what we did is we scanned not in all stocks, but public. We went to the Russell 2000. I like taking all stocks that are optionable. Then we took stocks that were at least $30. Now, you could do a different scan, and I have. But what you do then is you take off any option fields I have here. What I did then is I added a study filter What I added in here was I want the average volume to be at least 700,000 shares. And the way it does this is it does a 50 period simple moving average, at least 700,000 shares on average daily volume. You then scan, and you'll see it comes up. Let me put it back in here so I do it right. Comes up with 52 stocks. That's it. So you have 52 stocks over $30 in the Russell 2000 that trade at least 700,000 shares. What you do then is you add this and make your own watch list. So see this little old computer disk. You might be too young to know that that's a floppy disk. But you go to that, and then what you do is this. So you put in, let's say, Russell Longs for 2016. Then what you do, you save that. What you do now is you go back to charts, you go over to your futures page, and over here you put personal Russell Longs. Then you look at a chart, and let's say you want to make this a daily and a 78-minute, and then you just go through every one. And what you're going to see, there's certain ones that just stick out. Let me give you, for instance, here was one we found on here, HIBB, that you're like, this looks pretty darn good. Does it look like you need to buy it this second? Maybe not, but look at that tight pattern. That's how we find things on the premium side. So I hope that helps. Like I said, we have the $7 30-day trial that we've had literally thousands of people sign up for, and our retention rate has been great. We've had so many people take advantage and stay in this, which I'm very, very humbled about. Other thing I wanted to mention in here was that this weekend there's a futures course by my friends on the Simpler Futures side that they're having this called the Complete A to Z Guide to Trading Futures, and it'll be well worth it. They're experts at trading these futures. It's also going to include some of the classes that are going to be in Austin the end of next week, like you see January 31st to February 2nd, which I'll actually be at talking about stocks. So I hope that helps. Everybody have a great weekend.